Hello children, I welcome you all for our science session. Let's continue our chapter number 10, reaching the age of adolescence. Till now we have learned what is adolescence. Adolescence is a time period in life when the body experiences some changes by which it leads to reproductive maturity. And this time period, that is the adolescent period, may vary in different individuals. As the adolescent period includes the teenage, therefore adolescents are also called as teenagers. Then we have learned what is puberty. Puberty is a time period in life when human beings or any animals become capable of reproduction. The changes that occur in the body during adolescent age are an indication that individual is reaching puberty. Then we have learned there are different changes occur during adolescent period, that is in adolescence, such as increase in height, change in body shape, change in voice, increased activity of sweat glands, development of sex organs, and production of hormones, that is by endocrine glands, that stimulates gametes production. And this adolescents, they become mentally and emotionally mature. And in last session, we have learned how increase in height happen in adolescence. That is, there is sudden increase in heights, isn't it? During puberty, hormones signal the body to grow faster. This sudden increase in height occur in boys at the age of 13 years, and in girls, the sudden increase in height it occurs at the age of 11 years onwards. So this peculiar change, this abrupt change during puberty is a sudden increase in height. How the sudden increase in height happens? During this time, that is adolescent period, the long bones, that is the bones of the arms and the legs get elongate, and it makes the person tall. The same way, now in this session we will be learning about other changes that happens during adolescent period. Now the second change is change in body shape. Here during adolescent period, both boys and girls, they undergo change in body shape due to increase in muscle growth. And if you have noticed that boys in your class, they have broader shoulders and wider chest than boys in junior classes, or you may tell in lower classes. This is because they have entered the age of puberty. And as they enter the age of puberty, the shoulder generally broaden as a result of growth. The same way in girls, the region below the waist becomes wider. That is, if you see the differences, in boys, the muscles of the body grow more prominently than in girls. In girls, the upper part and the lower part of the waist become wider due to fat deposition rather than the muscle growth. So, thus changes occurring in adolescent boys and girls are different. If you see here, the boys, adolescent boys, they show faster increase in muscle tissues, and girls have faster increase in fat tissues. That is why for girls, the fat moves from the middle to the upper and lower body, giving the curvier appearance. And next change is occur in adolescent period is change of voice. If you notice, sometimes the voice of some boys in your class cracks, it becomes hoarse. That is due to puberty, the voice box, which is otherwise called as larynx, begins to grow. Boys develop larger voice. due to growing voice box in boys. And if you see here, the protruding part of the throat, that is due to growing voice box, that is also called as Adam's apple. But in girls, the larynx is hardly visible from outside because of its small size. So generally, girls have high-pitched voice, whereas boys have deep voice. In adolescent boys, sometimes this boys have a very deep voice, because in adolescent period, sometimes boys, the muscles of the growing voice box go out of control and voice becomes hoarse. This state that that is the hoarse voice, will remain for few days or few weeks, after which the voice of boys becomes normal. And so children, at puberty, the voice box or the larynx begins to grow. Boys develop larger voice box by which they have a deep voice. And in girls, the larynx is hardly visible because of its small size. That is why they have high-pitched voice. Now, next change occur during adolescent period is increased activity of sweat gland and sebaceous gland. Sebaceous gland is nothing but oil gland. And during puberty, the secretion of sweat gland and sebaceous gland increases. Sweat gland, they secrete sweat, and sebaceous gland, they secrete oil. So many young people get acne and pimples on the face, especially you can see here forehead. They develop due to excessive secretion of sweat and sebaceous gland. So children, during puberty, there is an increased secretion of sweat and sebaceous gland. Gland, if you see, it is formed by group of cells. Glands are of two types, namely exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Exocrine glands, they have duct or tube to carry out their secretion. Some exocrine glands are like sweat gland, oil gland, salivary gland, etc. They have tube or duct to release their secretion. But on the other hand, endocrine gland, they do not have duct or tube. So as they do not have duct or tube, they are also called as ductless gland. And endocrine gland, they secrete chemical secretions called as hormones. As they do not have duct, the hormones secreted by endocrine glands are released directly into the bloodstream. For children, two types of glands, exocrine glands and endocrine glands. And now, next change is development of sex organs. At puberty, male sex organs, like male reproductive organs like testes and penis, develop completely. The testes, they also begin to produce male gametes, otherwise called as sperms. And in girls, the female reproductive organs like ovaries, they get enlarged and started developing, that is producing egg or ova or female gamete, begin to mature. And it also also ovaries start releasing mature eggs. As we have learned, testes, they produce millions of sperms at puberty. That is once they reach mature. And in girls, only one egg is being released by either of the ovary once in a month. So children, during adolescent period, development of sex organs, development of reproductive organs like testes and ovaries start producing sperms, that is male gametes, and eggs or ova, that is female gametes, respectively. Okay, children, in this session, we have learned that children gain height during adolescence. They undergo change in the body shape, And on the onset of puberty, it brings about the growth of reproductive organs, like the hair grow at various places on the body, and voice becomes hoarse as voice box or larynx enlarges during adolescence. And the onset of puberty and maturity of reproductive parts, it is controlled by hormones. Hormones are chemical secretions of endocrine glands which release these hormones directly into the bloodstream, because endocrine glands are ductless glands. That is, they do not have duct or tube to carry out their secretion. That's all for this session. Thank you.